details about what unfolded. And it all started back, he said, in '04 when Strobel was hosting a national TV show called Faith Under Fire. And one of his producers had a connection with someone who was employed by Playboy, and Strobel's team ended up successfully publishing an interview with Hefner about his views on theology, life, and the Almighty, if you will. So they went over to the Playboy mansion, which he says for me was just freaky, Strobel said. It was the last place I'd ever expected to go, and yet Strobel one day found himself in the living room of the infamous mansion, waiting for Hefner to emerge. And there it came, the Playboy magnate. He didn't disappoint either, as he emerged donning his typical pajamas and smoking jacket. Hefner immediately offered Strobel a tour of the mansion, to which the author responded, "No, thank you." And from there, the duo had a captivating conversation. And he was quite engaging in terms of the conversation. Strobel went on to say, he says, "We talked about what he believed, and he had a very minimalistic, distant view of God," Strobel said. He said he had a minimal belief in God. It was a theological stance that Strobel said is quite convenient for people like Hefner because it removes any real and viable moral responsibility on behalf of human beings. A God like that, of course, does not put any moral demands on anybody, said. This is Hefner saying this. Said that God of Christianity is a little too childish for me. And at one point in the interview, Hefner seemed surprised to realize, though, that Strobel was a Christian. With Strobel reflecting on the moments moment years later with some laughs, he said, apparently nobody had told him that I was an evangelical Christian. But despite Hefner's surprise, Strobel said that the two continued to have a great conversation that took an interesting turn when the author brought up Jesus, and in particular the resurrection. While Hefner said he didn't think Jesus was the Son of God any more than any other human being is, he perked up when it came to the resurrection. In fact, the Playboy founder said that any evidence for Jesus' resurrection and return would drop a series of dominoes that would prove a number of theological claims, including the existence of an afterlife. Strobel said that Hefner told him that he was at the head of the line hoping it's all true, but that the rational part of him held back from embracing such sentiment. He saw the relevance of the resurrection. He saw the significance of it, Strobel said, adding, though, that Hefner had considered that and that there could actually be evidence that it really unfolded and Hefner hadn't really investigated. So it was an interesting conversation. And for those that believe, there's many believers out there that do believe that the resurrection actually took place. And it's kind of interesting because everybody celebrates Christmas, which is actually, the birth of Christ, and people celebrate Easter, which is the resurrection, but not everybody really celebrates it in those terms. They just go through the, modern day traditional consumer souped up version, but has nothing to do with Christ. But for many, they thought that was revealing to say that at least he was that open-minded, that intelligent. And of course, obviously, none of this would have been possible without the resurrection, and that was the proof of it, where Jesus actually proved that he did rise again, because he showed himself not only to his disciples, but hundreds and hundreds of people had witnessed it, and it was unbelievable and chronicled throughout history. And even the government was made aware of it. But anyways, you have to believe it by faith. It's one or the other. But science has gone into the shroud. I've gone to different places, and I believe that science increasingly has caught up with the Bible. Even the Ark, or the Ark of the Covenant, or many of the different things that happened with the Red Sea parting, and the Mount, and the Mount of Olives, all these interesting places that are in biblical history. That is one of my dreams, by the way, to go over to the Holy Land. I have never been there. I've had friends who've gone over there. I have missed opportunities to go over, but they say if you are a believer, whether you're a Jew or a Christian, the scriptures take on a whole new meaning when you're actually walking in the Holy Land. And it's like the scripture comes alive because you're there at the Mount of Olives. You're there at the tomb. You're there where the cross was, where he hung, or where they think it took place. And it's more meaningful to see it. And we were very visual people, so it's no wonder. There is an NFL team that apologized. Remember the guy that I was telling you about, the video that was circulating on YouTube? That had the banner that was protesting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, they're apologizing for players who took a knee in London, which many took to be an insult to the military. The Jacksonville Jaguars were widely criticized for joining the national anthem protest under a very special occasion. They were abroad in London. So in September, the Jaguars went up against the Baltimore Ravens in London, England. So this is where this really started for them. And before the national anthem played, players took a knee in unison to show the unity, and as the national anthem played, the team stood by. A few players went on a knee. And then interesting, when that country had their national anthem, they all stood. Folks, there is something going on in our country that I think is waking people up to patriotism. To realize that there's a lot of military folks in our country. Tens of millions of families throughout our country that keep us safe every day, that it's just not something to mess with. And we shouldn't be messing with the national anthem. But this is the same leftist ideology that's circulating all over the country, where saying the Pledge of Allegiance, even in the class, or don't do it. Don't say it. You can be excused, or just not having class do it. I remember those days, and I don't want this to be a time in the past where people don't say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. So to me, I don't get bent out of shape when the president actually meddles in that particular thing. Look, Obama meddled in his points. He got involved with cases that presidents probably shouldn't get involved with. This is a passion of his. And any military person that's serving or has served or has lost ones in military are not complaining about this. Most of America actually agrees of what Trump is saying on both sides of the equation. Liberals, most good liberals are patriotic too. So it's not a great majority. Over 70% of Americans believe that this is a good thing. There's a song that came out, and I want you to take a listen to. This is unbelievable. It blessed me. This guy, a country singer, and there's been a lot of songs, obviously, that have been written about our flag through the years, and I want to make sure that I give credence to this songwriter and this musician that came out with the song, but it was emailed to me by a friend, and I've already downloaded it, got it into my instant replay, but I do want to play the song. But before I play the song, I want to first preface that it's not studio quality. So for anybody that says, oh, don't you have a better quality here? This was on YouTube. So I went ahead and downloaded it for the YouTube version that everybody else was able to see. But the words of it, I think, are really awesome. And it really does send a great message to the many people that stand up for that every opportunity that they have and love our flag. It's not the material that they're worshiping. It's not the material. It's not the person that put it together. It's the people that allowed us to be able to have that flag. And for every star that's on that, and the red symbolizes the blood that was shed for every one of us to be able to live in a free and open society. We have problems. Yes, we do. But largely speaking, we get along each day. We have women that are able to go out and have jobs. They're able to show their skin and not get shot and killed. You can be homosexual in this country and not get shot and killed. You can have rights. Imagine that. There's so many wonderful things about our country that I celebrate. And I'm very proud of my country, and I just wish that there was more people that could really get that goosebump feeling when the national anthem goes on. Yesterday, we played Leanne Rimes' version of the national anthem, and I got to tell you, you can YouTube that. You can just YouTube just about everything. But I had goosebumps, sincerely, when I listened to her version of that down. But I don't think there has been a single time that I've been at a ball game or at a football game or some game where I've heard the national anthem. It speaks to you. And I don't know if it's just because I've had family that have served in military, or, I've been in Washington, D.C. and Arlington Cemetery, just having the realization that freedom is not free. And like this country singer says right now, I'm going to stand. This is Pat Garrett, and I want you to write down his name and check out the video. Pat Garrett, this is his latest song, and hopefully he does a studio version, but it's called I'm Going to Stand. And let's all do that. Country singer Pat Garrett.
Well, I'm going to stand with my hand on my heart because her glory represents the nation I love. And I'm going to honor all those people who died as our symbol of freedom waves gloriously above. We're so lucky to live in the land of the free. So won't you stand up alongside of me, 'cause I'm going to stand for the country I love. Yeah, I'm going to stand. I'm going to stand for America, our great land. I'm going to stand for all we've been through. Yeah, I'm going to stand for the red, white, and blue. Our star-spangled banner gives me chills inside. It fills my heart with our nation's pride. The stripes and the stars on the background of blue. When I see our flag, I know what to do. We're so lucky to live in the land of the free. Hey, won't you stand up alongside of me, 'cause I'm going to stand for the country I love. Yeah, I'm going to stand. I'm going to stand for America, our great land. I'm going to stand for all we've been through. Yeah, I'm going to stand for the red, white, and blue. For the red, white, and blue. For the red, white, and blue.
All right, like I told you, the quality, it's the content that was most important there, okay? So your Optimod at your radio station's okay. Good song, good stuff. Did you hear about the story of Johnson & Johnson? I didn't realize powder was bad for you, but Johnson & Johnson won its appeal of $72 million talcum powder verdict, claiming its products cause ovarian cancer, as Missouri appeals court found the case shouldn't have been tried, period, in St. Louis in a court. Johnson & Johnson won its appeal of $72 million verdict, claiming its talc products cause ovarian cancer. The verdict to a family of Jacqueline Fox, of Alabama woman who died in 2015, was the first of a series of jury awards in the St. Louis court. Juries have awarded more than 300 million verdicts over the talc claims of talc in the talcum powder of Johnson & Johnson, their products. The Supreme Court delivers a blow to plaintiff's paradise under the revised standard. As this news story reads, a non-resistant plaintiff must establish an independent basis for specific personal jurisdiction over the defendant in the state. This is lawyer jargon. J&J contends there are no links between ovarian cancer and its baby powder or shower-to-shower talc products. Fox family lawyers may appeal, attorney Ted Meadows said in a statement. I never heard that baby powder causes ovarian cancer. I didn't realize that. I guess, if you're a woman and you're using talc powder down there, be careful. That's all I got to say. Be careful of what you're using. I didn't realize it's just listen. Where do I